Finally got what you meant by past that time. Wow. You can fire us up anytime you. Okay. We're on. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Millbury, the Town Planning Board agenda for February 10th, 2025. With that, would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Call to order 7.
Good evening.
Wait.
My name is Bruce DeVault, Clerk of the Planning Board. Tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting. You may participate in person or remotely via computer by going to zoom.us, entering access code 882-4951-4096, or by calling in at 301-715-8592. You can use *6 to mute and unmute your phone line. We ask that all speakers please identify yourselves at the podium each time you speak by stating your name, address, and town of residence for the record. We ask participants in person to use the microphone. Please address all comments through the chair. This is a public meeting and is being broadcast on local access and is being recorded by Millbury Public Access Cable Television. Available live on public access channels Charter 191, Verizon 26. Richard Goslin, Chairman.
Okay. Guess we can move on. We have public hearings. We have none. Very quiet night, but we have other business. The Millbury Housing Production Plan presentation by CMRPC and adoption is first on the agenda.
Correct.
Hmm?
Correct.
I did okay? Yeah.
Did good.
All right,
Yeah.
just checking.
Even though you were late, you did good.
Good evening, everyone. I'll introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Emily Globitz. I'm a principal planner at the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, CMRPC. I've been working with the town over the past year on the housing production plan. It's the town's first official housing production plan. So I'm just speaking tonight to give like a pretty brief summary of the process that went into making this, some of the highlights of the plan, and ultimately we're seeking any feedback you might have on the plan. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read it. And if you are willing to kind of vote to approve the plan, ultimately the plan needs to be approved by the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen prior to being submitted to the state's Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. So housing production plans are 5-year strategic plans for a community to meet its housing affordability goals and just help guide decision-making related to the town's housing needs. This is the first time Millbury has kind of gone through this process. For the board and for the public listening, just to clarify, this is separate from the MBTA communities zoning changes, which will be discussed after this as well. So it's kind of a separate process. So I just want to make that clear to everyone. The process kicked off in February 2024. A housing production plan committee of 5 volunteers has been meeting regularly with myself and Connor McCormick, the town planner, to guide this process. The committee's provided really insightful information about Millbury's history and kind of its unique challenges, and has just been providing really great feedback at every single meeting. So I just wanted to thank the members of that committee, as well as to dedicated volunteers who were not on the committee, or residents who were not on the committee who attended these public meetings and spoke up and provided feedback as well. So a little bit more on kind of the public outreach aspects of this plan. Public input is really a critical component of housing production plans. We want to hear about people's needs, challenges living here, affordability, all that. So we had put out a community-wide survey focusing on housing affordability and desired future housing needs in March, and it was out for a couple months. It was out between March and May 2024. We received 243 responses, which is a pretty typical response rate for these plans. I should note I've worked with a number of communities in central Massachusetts on their housing production plans. So yeah, this was a pretty average kind of response rate for putting out a survey like this. We also held 2 community forums. One was open to the public, the general public, which was held on June 4th at the public library, and one was targeted towards the senior community, which was held a few weeks later on June 18th, 2024 at the Senior Center. Both of these events featured a presentation by myself, an opportunity for question and answer, and a small group breakout activity. I believe the materials from these should be available on the town's website as well. And I should note that the results from the survey are included in the appendix of the housing production plan. So the combination of these public outreach methods showed us that there are, in fact, people who are really struggling to afford living here in Millbury and don't have their housing needs met, particularly the more vulnerable population, such as our seniors who are retired and living on fixed incomes. About half of the survey respondents said they are paying between 30% and 50% of their monthly income on housing, and even 13% of the survey respondents said they're paying at least half of their monthly income on their housing needs, on their housing costs. We also asked the public about preferences related to future housing types if they were to be built in town, and locations, finding that there's a lot of favorability towards more modest-sized housing that reflects what is existing here already. There was some interest in cottage housing communities, accessory dwelling units, smaller-scale mixed-use opportunities, and just smaller apartments. So now, that was a little summary about like the public outreach elements of it. I'll just provide some background information on the importance of planning for housing production and kind of why we're doing this, like one of the reasons. So under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, cities and towns are required to reserve 10% of their housing stock as affordable, as deed restricted as affordable, for households earning 80% or less of the area median income. So currently Millbury is only at 3.7% of its housing stock falls under this category, or 221 units, when in reality it needs a total of 595 affordable units. So it's really falling short of its affordability requirement as mandated under this law. So under Chapter 40B, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but I'll just reiterate that this leaves the town vulnerable to developers seeking comprehensive permits, which allows them to override certain zoning requirements and build more densely in areas of town that would typically not allow multifamily units. So they still have to comply with other requirements, but they can override the zoning. So the town currently, since it has not met this 10% requirement, it is vulnerable to this. So housing production plans, now that it'll be in place for the next 5 years, once it's approved by this board and the Board of Selectmen and approved by the state, it can actually be used as a tool to help manage 40B developments, as long as the town can demonstrate that it's gradually adding affordable units to its housing stock. This is described in more detail in the housing production goals section. But if the town were to produce 0.5% of its total year-round housing stock as affordable units, so a 0.5% would equal 30 affordable units based on the 2020 census. It could claim what's called safe harbor from 40B developments for a year. Or if it were to produce 60 units, twice of that, it could claim safe harbor for 2 years. So that can only happen if a housing production plan is valid in place for the 5-year period. So just another reason why it was important to kind of have this plan in place and why the town wanted to pursue this. So overall, the plan includes up-to-date population and housing data, a evaluation of the constraints and challenges to housing, and a set of recommended goals and strategies that the town should pursue to address its housing needs. The strategies, we decided to kind of break them up into 4 different categories. And I should note that many of these strategies were taken directly from the master plan because we wanted this plan to align with the goals of the master plan and not have these 2 documents conflict at all. So the 4 categories, the first one was building local capacity. So that's like meaning leveraging financial resources as well as professional and community support to conduct housing initiatives and continue the community outreach that we started with this plan. So there's a set of strategies that are under that category. The next is making zoning and policy changes. So since regulatory barriers end up preventing many times much needed types of housing from being built, there's a set of recommendations for changing certain zoning and implementing policies to help facilitate the types of housing that really would meet people's needs, but also are desirable and fit with the character of Millbury. Yeah, I should note here also one of the strategies in this category is to pursue an inclusionary zoning bylaw, which requires a percentage of new units and developments to be set aside as affordable, which the town has already gotten district local technical assistance funding from the state to work with CMRPC on this. So we're already working on implementing this this plan. So that's great. The third category is housing development strategies, ways the town can provide support for projects and kind of partner with developers, advocate for certain types of housing, and just like take the necessary steps to prepare for new development. And the final category is housing preservation strategies. So just making sure that existing affordable units do not expire, making sure it's preserved, and exploring ways the town can like really support local residents and local housing organizations, as well as possibly restoring like vacant or abandoned properties. So this draft plan was available for public comment between January 15th and February 7th. We received a handful of comments, but it was mostly kind of just general concerns about kind of municipal capacity if new housing was to come in. So nothing that I had to kind of directly go in and make any changes to the housing production plan, but something that's, I think it was a lot of points that were brought up that are important to consider when the town is implementing the plan. I think that is all that I had for my summary. Any questions for me or Connor?
Can I ask?
Yeah, all right.
My only question is, when you talk about affordable housing, what is, I've asked this question to many people, what is affordable housing? What is that? Where does that come in money-wise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for the purposes of this plan, we're using kind of like the state's definition of affordable housing. So affordable housing can be, naturally occurring based on market conditions. So we call that lowercase a affordable housing. But for this plan, we're calling it uppercase affordable housing, which has like a strict definition, which certain households kind of fall into these income brackets, essentially. So for the purpose of this plan, it's for households who are earning 80% or less of the area median income. So Millbury is included in, I think it's like 25 other surrounding towns. And basically, this comes from HUD as well. So they take the median income of these 20 or so communities in Central Mass, and they take the median income of all of those communities. So it'll include places like Worcester, but also I think like Sturbridge is in there as well. So it's a interesting way to do it. But yeah, so those who are making 80% of that median income could qualify for affordable units. I should have pulled up the actual numbers. If you give me a second, I can. Because this is updated every single year based on the changing. Okay, so as of 2024, the area median income was 117,300. So it also, I should note that it breaks it up into based on the number of people who are in a household. So a single person household, the cutoff would be 68,500. So people earning less than that yearly could actually qualify for affordable units, which I'm sure that's many people. Does that help clarify?
I'm
or
not
is-
sure that answered my question.
I don't think so either.
I understand where you are with percentages and everything. I get all that, but the average cheapest apartment here in town, one bedroom, I'll call it a 3-room apartment, is like $1,700. How can anybody afford something like that?
That's a good question.
So,
Yeah,
I
so
don't understand how it works either. How does the affordable housing work? Let's say my household makes $60,000 a year. So do they take that $60,000 and they pay a percentage of that rent? And then I pay a percentage of that rent? Is that how it works? I'm trying to understand how the whole thing comes together for people to be able to afford these rents.
I think there's a few different approaches that are possible. So for this plan, it's just we're working on encouraging units that are just reserved for people who are under a certain income threshold. But then there are like programs out there which it'll take like a percentage of people's income. I don't know, Connor, do you have a better explanation of this?
Yeah, well, I think part of your question is how do these units get constructed? Is that kind of what you're?
How much do they
So-
cost?
So are these units apartments or are they homes? I heard HUD, so that makes them homes, right?
Yeah,
Well,
they
so-
can be, rents.
Yeah, they could be either. They can be they're dwelling units, and depending on the ownership type, they may rent them out to people, or they may be like a condo situation or a single-family home. So an affordable unit can look like a lot of different things. I think oftentimes we think about them as multifamily housing, like apartment buildings, but it's not necessarily always the case. But yeah, it's always tied back to that affordability piece. And
Yeah, this is the biggest question that most people hit me with. What is affordable housing? Because it's the hardest question to answer.
Because there's no number.
Back in my day, affordable housing was Section 8. I don't know if you ever heard of that,
That's correct.
right?
Right.
So my mother used to get X amount of dollars from the government to pay the rent, and she had to pay the balance. Is that still how it works?
Yeah, it's kind of shifted a bit. So we still have like Section 8 and like we have like public housing units, but new public housing units like have not been constructed in like recent decades, really. A lot of them are just from like the 80s and before. I think the government kind of switched to offering housing vouchers. So they will pay, a certain percentage. Maybe you only have to pay like 30% or something of your income if you have a housing voucher, and you can live in any market rate unit, affordable unit anywhere, as long as they're accepting housing vouchers.
So I'm just trying to help the public.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And HUD is the thing where your interest rate is different and your down payment is different. It's cheaper so that you can afford to buy this small house for your family to live in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there are opportunities for renting as well as purchasing units. Yeah. So
Okay.
typically, lately, it's been a lot of rentals, but there are, houses that are built and they're restricted, income restricted, and they're only sold at a certain price.
Okay. And do we, to Connor, do we have like areas that we're looking at for this what did you call it? It's not a project, it's
So housing production
Housing development.
plan.
housing development, yeah.
I think we did identify some areas in the plan where multifamily housing might be a good fit, but it was nothing binding. I think we were just kind of trying to find areas in town where it could work, the infrastructure could be there, transportation might be available, those kind of things. But this plan isn't necessarily binding us to the town to do anything, construct any kind of housing. It's really looking at different opportunities that the town can take to increase or boost the production of affordable units.
Okay, so this is like step one
I think that's a good way to look at it, yeah.
towards the process of doing so. Okay, well, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Franny.
I'm sitting here, I'm listening. First of all, I haven't seen this 141-page book. I wished I did, this housing production plan. I'd like to read the whole thing. That would be my first concern. My second concern is, never in a million years is this town going to hit 10% of affordable housing. Never going to happen. Okay? So you said and stand up there, you say you did a questionnaire. Most of your questionnaire answering was for single-family moderate homes, if I'm not mistaken. That does not fit in a 40B, with a 40B. That's just another thing the state's stuffing down our throat. Okay? Go ahead, you got something to say?
Well, just if through the chair, I guess there are affordable units don't always have to be multifamily housing. I think we were kind of touching on that there are different mechanisms on how they get created, and it is possible for single-family homes to be affordable. It can be challenging to get the funding to pull those kind of projects off, but
I understand that. But we're talking apartment buildings here. In your questionnaire,
Not necessarily.
No.
in the questionnaire, it said small apartment buildings. That doesn't fit at all with the 40B. Doesn't fit at all with the MBTA, which I know this has nothing to do with. But these MBTA and 40B are not small apartment buildings. They want these big, huge, humongous things that are like pimples, okay? And that's what they want. And I can't endorse anything or put my name on anything as a positive recommendation till I read that 141-page thing that I just saw on Friday. And that's where I stand. I do not like being dictated to. And I think this is all part of the extreme plan. And I don't like it.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully you get a chance to read it, and I can come back to a future meeting.
I would appreciate that, and I don't know if you could print it out for me, because I know you're trying to save ink and whatever, but I gotta print it on my time. So,
yeah, through the chair, I will just note this was sent to the board, I think a couple weeks ago, and it's been online available to anyone. It still is if anyone is looking to take a look at it. Yeah, and I guess just to touch back on a point on the 40Bs, I know that the town obviously just recently had a 40B permitted that was a very large project, I think 192 units, but they don't necessarily always need to be that big. I think you've seen a lot of other communities that can sometimes be very small depending on the parcel size. That, you know, they are often looking when they go 40B to get around some zoning provision, but it could be so they could fit, 8 units on a parcel instead of 6. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge project, but another benefit of 40Bs is the entire project does count towards the SHI, that 10%.
I understand.
Big projects like the one that was the one on Rice Road, that will almost double our percentage if it is built the way that it was permitted by the Board of Appeals. So that would bump us probably close to like 6 to 7%. So it is possible that the town then is like within shot of 10%. So just kind of throwing
And
that
as
out
you
there.
build these 192 unit thingies, apartment buildings, you take 10% or whatever it is, and you put that towards your quota of your 10%. Now you've got 160 units that are not covered by affordable housing.
Well, like I said, part of the benefit of a 40B for the town is that all of the units are counted on the SHI, even though 20 to 25% are actually deed restricted affordable. So that's part of the benefit is there are 75% of the units are market rate, but they still count on our SHI listing.
How does that work?
I don't make the rules.
Probably works for about a year, and then it dissolves, and next thing you know, we're right back. to
Oh,
the
don't worry, you know how I feel about all this stuff.
I do.
And I'm tired of beating this dead horse, to be honest with you.
Randy, one of the things I was trying to do, because I was on this board, is I tried to push the idea of the newer cottage houses, those really small ones, where they pack 3 or 4 of them on a lot, and they make a nice common area and all of that stuff. And I proposed that in this layout, and I proposed the zoning to be the town, not a zoning area. They could put them anywhere, because if they do them right,
It can be
they
done.
really look nice. You know?
Well, there's a lot
And
of...
we could deed restrict, and first, and in that particular case, the houses, they can't make them mega McMansions because there's not enough land or anything to do it. So they will always stay fairly small and affordable. And we might actually make that 10%.
No, my
Other
first
than
house
that,
was a ranch.
I agree with Franny, there's no way, plain hell we will.
No way in hell we're gonna hit that, and it's,
Because it keeps growing on the other end.
right. As you fill in here, it goes out here. That's what I was just explaining, how we will never meet that. Never. So, if you want to go small housing, how do you get developers to build small housing? They want to build something that they're going to make a profit on,
Well, we'll make a profit on it.
And that's why you saw
Do that.
back in the 80s, all these 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath colonials started going up everywhere. And then they went up to 450. Then they went to 5. Now there's 6 and 7. So those will never be unless you got a really good job as a young couple. Have a really good job.
Yep.
How do you get a developer to build a 5-room ranch that costs $300,000? I don't know. Because he's not going to make the profit he's going to make on it. I was in the
Right,
business a long time. He's not going to make that profit. It's like
The
anything.
only hope is we max out at the mega mansions, and then they either start building smaller or they starve to death.
Yeah, well, there's still a lot of land in Millbury available.
Yeah, things are starting to change, though, as far as the size of houses. It's coming to what you were talking about, and that's more geared towards, like, the city, don't get me wrong. I always look at the house, I don't know how often you guys travel down Stowe Road. There's a little tiny house on Stowe Road. It's probably a studio. It's that small. And it has a bed that folds out of the wall or something, and it's got a kitchenette. It's tiny. But somebody lives in there. And I think that that's cool. If I was a single guy, I would want that house.
There's if you were single or elderly. A young couple's not going to move in there with 3 kids.
Well, no, we're not talking about it.
We can't solve that problem.
I understand that.
That's not what we're thinking about.
What I'm presenting
I
here
love
is,
the idea of what she's talking about. I think it's fantastic,
well,
if it comes together right. Like what Richie was
I
saying.
haven't seen it, so I have no idea.
We got a couple.
I have not seen it. I have no idea.
I see that, yeah. I'm just trying to get through the board.
Okay. We can let, unless somebody else.
I'm good for now.
Okay, well, we had one person
Two of
on
them.
TV.
Brian.
Is he still Brian?
Brian and
Somewhere?
Steve.
Where'd he go? There he is.
Hey, Richard.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
Brian.
Rich, this is Steve Stearns, 12 Thomas Hill Road. So Brian is going to speak after me. Brian chaired the housing production plan, and I think I was at most of the meetings, if not all of them. And there was a lot of hard work put in by this committee of people that represented the town. One thing that was said tonight, I just kind of want to, well, Emily's there and Connor's there, to clarify. Single-family houses don't get on SHI because it requires a 40B to get onto SHI. So that needs to be clarified. I like the idea of the cottage housing, and I presented some information on that to the committee, and some of it was used in the report, which is good. So just to make that point, in order to get onto the SHI, which is the 10% goal, which only 20% of the communities in Massachusetts have reached the 10%. And that's since 1960 something that Chapter 40B was enacted. So 40B is not a real success as far as I'm concerned of growing affordable housing. And the 80% AMI, for a lot of people in Millbury, some of them don't make that much. So it's not really affordable to the people that live here. So potentially by building more, and the next topic we're going to talk about, the MBTA, we're potentially forcing out people to make room for people from the Boston area. So I think we need to be thoughtful about how we proceed with a lot of things as far as planning and zoning in the town, so that we're meeting the needs of the people who live here, the seniors, the people who've grown up here, and the people in our downtown that, you know, are part of the environmental justice population, which in Millbury means people whose financial means are less than others. So I think we need to be sensitive. I think this is a good plan. However, it's a plan. It has no real teeth to it. It can be ignored just like the master plan. So people need to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Now, anybody else?
Brian.
Brian.
Brian. Is he there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, fine.
All right, perfect. Brian Sora, Jackie Drive. So yeah, just to sort of piggyback off of what Steve had said, that was one thing I just wanted to make clear also. It is somewhat of something that, you know, doesn't really hold as much teeth as maybe, you know, some of us that spent our hours in from the summer and going into this would have liked, but it should be kind of deemed as such. I mean, just a couple quick things on this. I just wanted to double check. Fran, you had said something about the questionnaire not adjusting the single families or something. I guess, can you repeat where you're saying your
Well,
issue was with
the way I understand it, Brian, the questionnaire stated that they wanted more small, affordable, single-family homes than anything else. Am I incorrect in that statement?
The questionnaire that was submitted by members of the town didn't state anything like that per se. All of us as, you know, people that submitted the questionnaire could put what we wanted, but I'm looking at this questionnaire now, I have it in front of me. I don't have anything as sort of steering the questions that way. I mean, it says, please rate the desirability of the following housing types. And on it, it lists ones for us to kind of pick from, but it ranges from small single-family homes to larger scale apartments. It covers it all, for which all of us were to vote on the ones that we would like to have seen.
I understand, but the largest percentage were for single-family houses.
Correct, the percentage of the survey results, so that's what the members of town stated. It wasn't
Correct.
stating anything, yeah, so that was just simply taking a poll of what the people in town think, and that's what they were voicing.
And that's very important, as you know.
Definitely, and yeah, absolutely, so.
Why are
a
we,
couple quick-
my
Go ahead.
question is, why are we going to this apartment thing? We gotta pick a direction to go in here.
Nobody
People of
said
this
that,
town say,
We're not going to an
Single-family
apartment thing.
homes.
There was options.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. We can't just pigeonhole all development to be one thing in this town. I wouldn't want that anyways, as a,
It's not
as a
pigeonholing.
red-blooded American.
It's not pigeonholing it.
Yeah, you're saying we have to pick a lane. I disagree. I want diversity of developments in our town. I'm fine with multifamilies if it's in the right spot and to the right scale. I would
There's
like
the
to see
key.
single families built as well, but I don't think a housing production plan should just be limited to one specific thing. And I think this provided a lot of diverse ideas on it that was according to what the townspeople voted in saying that they would be interested in seeing.
I never said it should be dedicated to one thing. My statement was that the majority of the people responded single-family housing. Small. So for elderly or new home buyers, young people that grew up in this town, that want to stay in this town. That's what I'm saying, okay? So we need to focus on what the people want. Not what we want, not what the state wants, what the people want.
I don't know if we can get too much smaller than the cottage-style housing that Rich had sort of spearheaded to get on the plan. I think ultimately, Fran, kind of where my issue is with this is, there's a lot of statements that you're making here and you didn't read the plan. And the plan was presented to you as part of your preparation for this meeting and was on the website for weeks, and we had meetings on it for a month. So I'm a little disappointed in that if you're critiquing.
Whoa.
it,
You
didn't
stop
read it.
right there, Brian.
Yeah.
Stop right there. You're barking up the wrong tree, okay? If you think I'm going to sit and read 141 pages on this thing, you're dreaming. Because the town doesn't want to print it out. All right?
Moving forward, Rich, I'd be happy to print anything out for you. I'm just saying here that it's on your guys' agenda here to vote on. So I think it's important that you, as one of the 5 people there that are making the vote, need to read this. And at the very least, if you didn't, it's hard to critique it because I think there's a lot of misinformation on this.
I'm not
And we worked really
critiquing it.
hard for it. Emily, Connor, Steve, Stearns was at almost every meeting. Terry, we worked real hard on it, Rich included. And so it's disappointing to that extent. I hear you if it's hard to read on the tablet. I get it. I'm just saying that, guys, this is in front of your guys' board here. It's a decision that you all need to make. So you having not read it, it's troubling to hear because you guys are to vote on this tonight.
I'm not voting on this tonight.
Okay. The last point I just wanted to make on this also, just in reference to the MBTA thing, is that we did as a group decide not to include this on this plan. And I think that I just wanted to make sure that, we sort of make that clear. I think, Emily, you did a great job of just kind of clarifying that from the start, that there's 2 agenda items today, MBTA being next, that this isn't a part of it. I think I'll speak for myself, but I think that was the right call to not include this as part of this plan. Because, as we know, this is still a very hot topic going on and we don't even know if it's going to be on a warrant article again, or, we're still pretty deep in the MBTA conversation. So just wanted to voice that as well. And just give my thanks again to Emily and everybody else that have participated in the creating of this, or the drafting of this plan, I should say. Thanks.
I'm not downing any of you people for this work you've put into this thing. I just think it's incorrigible that I should have to sit here and read it on a tablet, 141 pages.
Okay. Okay. We need to move on from that for any.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so, I know we did the presentation and all of that. What was the outcome supposed to be? That we voted tonight on this, or we didn't vote on this, or what? I'm still kind of lost.
Yeah,
Adopt
so
the housing plan.
hopefully I will be presenting this to the Board of Selectmen. I think it's the meeting on the 25th. So the plan does need to be approved by both of these boards, Planning Board and Board of Selectmen. So I was hoping for, just to kind of keep this process moving so we can get this plan submitted to the state. I was hoping for a vote to approve tonight, but it is up to the board, what you wish to do.
Well, I don't think, with Rennie, I'd rather give him a little more time. I mean, you may disagree with it, but I know deep down, he's doing the best he can for this town. So, I think we'll have to continue it.
So Connor,
It'll
we-
give the people, the other members a chance to just review it again based on everything that you've said it, because when somebody describes something, it's a lot different than reading just something off a piece of paper, and then, so then they can apply it to what they're reading, and it would
Rich,
probably would
quick
help them.
question.
Well,
Can-
Steve, is that,
Can Connor or someone provide the location of where it is on the website? Because I'm getting questions from people, where can I find this? They're having difficulty finding it, so does Connor have that available to say where to look on the town's website for it?
Yeah, through the chair, it's on the planning and development webpage on the website. It's the first item on the left on the planning department webpage.
did you get that,
Thank you,
Steve?
Connor. Thank you. I
Okay,
did.
Okay, Rich, can I, one question?
One question? Sure.
Oh, Connor, are we meeting the night before she's meeting with the selectmen?
We are planning to meet on the 24th of February.
Yeah. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You like it here. It's
I
It's a nice town, you know?
It's great.
So what do we do here? Can we, this is let's see, is this a
So
public
nothing?
hearing?
No, it's not.
No, it isn't. So do we need a formal continuing it to the next one, or?
It wouldn't hurt. Yeah, I think a motion to continue the adoption until the February 24th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
thanks.
second it.
We got a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Questions especially that you might, while you,
Through
I
the
I
chair.
have one question.
whoops,
Is there any overlap between the MBTA and this?
Yeah, I would say there's overlapping themes, but like Brian said, we chose not to include a specific goal in the housing production plan related to MBTA communities. But I think, yeah, like there is overlap in terms of themes. But if the housing production plan, there's no like repercussions, I guess, in the way that there is for MBTA communities. If you don't
You don't do it?
adopt the zoning, then
Oh,
you're
yeah.
excluded from certain grants and things like that. If you don't pursue the housing production plan or adopt it for whatever reason, there's no like repercussions for that. So that's why I wanted to clarify. It's two different things. This is a strategic plan. It has a set of goals, for increasing affordability for the town, but also providing more avenues for more diverse housing. Yeah, is that kind of clear? Also, if there's any questions that I can like kind of come prepared for the next time I come, I'm happy. I can look up more specific numbers for affordability too and come prepared with that if that's helpful.
Yeah, that would be good. 'cause
Yeah.
Nobody,
How it really works.
Yeah, I'll come prepared
Awesome, if
with
you-
numbers, anything like that.
That's the biggest question I
Sure.
get from everybody,
Yeah.
because none of us know.
there's no number out there.
Yeah.
it's
600,
magic.
1,000, 1,200,
Or even if I owe 20% versus, and the government's gonna pay 80, or however it works. Because if I only make 30 grand a year, I can't afford anything anywhere.
So am I to understand that you have not read this?
I have read some of it, but I haven't read the whole thing.
Thank you.
It's
So I'm not the only one.
It's quite an article, so
I'm not the only one.
40
Yeah,
yeah.
pages.
Thank
made it
you.
through the whole thing.
So
Okay, Franny.
here's my question here.
Okay,
How do we get this 141-page booklet?
Well, I have it right here.
It's right on the,
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not,
Through the chair, Fran, we have a printed copy in the office if you'd like to
I
come
would
look at it.
appreciate that. It's tough on the eyes looking at this thing. Very tough.
yeah,
on
you
the
need to
eyes.
get a little older, and then you'd appreciate or trying to read some
Yeah,
of
I
this stuff, you
understand. I
know?
know. They don't understand.
Yeah, well, I know.
Rich, one more thing.
Okay,
Emily touched on some of the mechanisms of staying compliant with the plan and helping us with Chapter 40B, that there's certain thresholds we have to meet each year. And I don't see that I wrote it down. I think she said it was 30 affordable units per year, or 60 would get us to every 2 years. What happens if we don't meet these goals? does that mean we're out of compliance and we lose the benefits
These are
of
just
having
bonuses,
a
or-
housing production plan?
Yeah, no, they're kind of like soft goals. It's great if you achieve them, and then you get this bonus to deny comprehensive permits to developers for a year. But there's no repercussion if you don't achieve that 0.5% development of affordable units of the total housing stock.
Okay,
A hand up there.
what's that? We got another hand?
Brian's got his hand up.
Oh, okay.
I just have one more, quick question, or one thing for Emily to go over. Brian Sorjacki Drive again. Steve, yeah, you bring up sort of a good topic. If Emily, you can just, and I missed like the first part of this meeting, so it may have already been asked, but using Rice Road as an example, I know it's still going through some land court stuff, but can you or Connor clarify if that does happen to go through, if that will be able to be used in the goals that Steve had just mentioned, or because it was already tackled through ZBA, that would not be something with which we could use? You know, I know even that project may take some time, but let's just say they were able to complete the project in a year. Would that be something that we can use as part of the SHI, as part of the byproduct of the HPP, or because it was already voted on, approved, would not be able to be counted?
Did you want? You're more familiar with the project. I don't know.
So I think my understand through the chair, my understanding is that the Rice Road project, that application came in and it was issued a permit prior to the town adopting the housing production plan, which hasn't even happened yet. I think in order to be able to claim safe harbor, the town would have had to have produced the 30 or 60 affordable units in the previous year before the application came in. If that were the scenario, and a 40B application came in, the town could then deny the 40B, claiming safe harbor, but we were not in that position when the Rice Road project was submitted. So I don't think, my understanding that this plan would not play into the 17 Rice Road project that has already been approved.
Don't you have to be at 10% to claim safe harbor?
That is one way to claim safe harbor. There are other ways, and this is the other way that we're talking about, is when you have an approved plan that's been approved by this board, the Board of Selectmen, and the state, and then once you have the plan, and then the town produces 30 or 60 units in a calendar year, it gets like a grace period of a year or two to deny 40B permits. The idea being that the town is already making solid progress on its affordability goals, that it doesn't necessarily need to take on additional 40B projects during that time. So you get a little grace period.
So I understand this plan kicks that out, the 10%, correct?
No, I think,
The
I'm not really
housing
talking about
production plan kicks out the 10% deal, the way I'm understanding when we're explaining it.
No, so we still have the 10% goal requirement to get to 10%.
Permit runs out.
The housing production plan does give a safe harbor tool where if the town produces, even if we're under 10%, if we produce enough housing in a given amount of time, whether it's a year or 2 years, we can get a break from having to accept
got it.
40Bs
Okay.
during that
Got it.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should just emphasize that the state isn't expecting the town to immediately add hundreds of units and reach the 10% mark tomorrow. What it wants to see is gradual progress towards adding affordable units. So I know you had said you're concerned about the town ever reaching 10%. I think, and I think Steve had said that only 20% of communities in Massachusetts have even met that 10%. But I think the state is just pushing progress towards this. It's just one final note for me.
So Rich, one more thing. This is Steve again.
Yep.
So Connor, the housing production plan is not accessible. We did find it on the planning and development page, but when you click on the link, It requires a username and password to even attempt to get anything. So I don't know if that can maybe be corrected tomorrow so that people have it accessible, or you could provide a link.
Yeah, we can definitely check out the link tomorrow to make sure it's working. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion to continue it, and then it was seconded, and then I asked if there was one question, and boy, did we get, no, okay.
So you're gonna have a lot of questions. Yes.
All in favor of continuing it?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, how long have we been sitting? Anybody need a break or anything? Everybody?
Yes, I would like a break if I can.
Okay, well,
You want to think? No, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
well, I don't know how long we'll spend on this next one. It's gonna be quick. We can take a 5-minute break for it. Go ahead. The Super Bowl's this weekend and he wants to get the,
No. It's a waste of time.
sorry. Okay, I guess the other subjects our favorite MBTA communities is our other subject. I mean, I don't know anybody's mind that's changed since we first brought this to a town vote, other than, and the only thing is this. Has everybody seen this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it tonight.
Can you put that up on the,
Yeah, 1 second.
That's something we can talk about that's different. And what people feel about those possibilities.
It's all split up. It's all split up, that's different.
It's all screwed up?
All split up. It's all split up in different parcels.
Yeah, but isn't each parcel the 15, or I
No,
misread it?
Yeah, so,
No, each parcel could be.
no, those are a combination of, right?
No,
yeah,
no.
so through the chair, maybe if I could just give a little overview quickly. As you noted, the town did not approve this at the Fall Town meeting last November. Since then, there's been a couple of developments. The most significant one was the Town of Milton case, which affirmed the law and the ability for it to be enforced, but it also gave the non-compliance town a new deadline of July 14th, 2025. Our previous deadline had been January 1st.
Right.
So we are currently not out of compliance, but we have a pretty short window where the town has the ability to get into compliance. So just about 5 or 6 months at this point. So with that, was looking to have a discussion with the board tonight on basically some of the options that you have moving forward. The town obviously can choose to do nothing, and then we'd be out of compliance by July 14th. The town can move to bring back the amendment that did not pass in the fall, or you can choose to bring a new amendment forward. So with that, I had heard that the feedback that I received since the Fall Town meeting, there wasn't a lot of issues that I heard on the text of the zoning amendment itself, the regulations. I think I heard more concern about the location of the district. So what I did was worked with Barrett Planning to come up with, it might be kind of hard to see, I'll zoom in a little bit and kind of scroll around here, with 4 sub areas where this district could potentially go. An area here around Canal Street and House Street, some parcels here around River Street and West Street, some parcels along 146, and some parcels in Bremenville on West Main Street. The idea was to give the planning board and the Board of Selectmen some options to look at in terms of wanting to put forward another zoning amendment where you would like it to go. All of these 4 districts do work, and it would kind of looking to you as the planning board as one of the entities that can put a zoning amendment forward to see if you'd like to do that and where you would like to put it.
I have one quick question, because I'm confused. I thought that these zoning districts had to be somewhere close to our MBTA transit stop.
We don't have one.
So
Well, I get that, Franny, that's my, AKA the only bus stop that we have in the center of town that swings by.
Yeah, so through the chair, the regulations do point for communities that don't have a transit station in their town, like Millbury, they do point to putting the district in locations that are near existing village centers, downtowns, places with transit, walkable, bike-friendly, those kind of things.
Right.
So we did kind of keep that in mind. I think particularly the areas around Canal Street, House Street, River Street, and Bremenville are in kind of more densely developed downtown or village centers. The Route 146 district is obviously pretty connected to transit via car. It's right on a busy highway, so.
Too bad there's no infrastructure at all in that area.
Yeah, no, I think that one probably stretches the interpretation of where the regulations say to cite the location, but just looking at, a few possibilities, I think in general, these do fit the intent of the requirement. And I will note that they can be split up, so the town has a requirement for a 50-acre district, but it does not have to be 50 contiguous acres. It can be, 25 here, 25 there. So if you were particularly interested in doing part of one area and part of another, that is an option as well.
Through the chair? Did you look at anything on Riverland Street or Westboro Street? There's Grafton Street Road. There's land all over the place. Instead of putting this thing downtown.
Yeah, through the chair, again, this is some feedback I heard on different parcels that might work. These are the 4 areas that we looked at. I think part of the reason that I looked at these areas that they did meet the intent of the siting requirements and the regulations. Certainly there are other parcels and areas in town that would probably work, but these are just the 4 that we looked at.
So just for conversation's sake, through the chair,
Absolutely.
the Canal Street area is already multifamily dwelling. We got Sparks over there, and we have multifamily housing all around Windle Field. The only part that's not is where the industrial area is. Is that what you have outlined, the industrial area?
Yeah, so through the chair, the area shown in blue hatching on the screen, yeah, the large parcel where my cursor is Cordis Mills or Spark. It includes the 19 Canal project, which is like 60 units, some other smaller multifamilies, as well as Cobblestone Village as you go up Howe Ave, and then that large industrial complex at 50 Howe Ave, yeah.
Okay, and over on Riverland, River Street,
yeah, this is looking mostly at those properties. If you're coming from Elm Street on your left after IBA, and then that large parking lot on your right, and when you get to the intersection of Water and River Street, the Felter's Mill building, and then the next couple kind of industrial buildings after that on your left as you go towards Main Street.
okay, in the West Main Street area up at Bremerville. So you're saying, like, if it ever happens, what's the name of that?
Singletary Arms.
Singletary
Singletary
Arms
Arms, yeah.
would be part of that,
Correct.
and the rest of that land over there, isn't it all like wetland?
Yeah, a large part of the Singletary Arms project is wetland, and the way that we calculate, there's a whole it's called the compliance model. We have to run these maps through this big Excel table. They extract or they exclude land that, like wetlands or town-owned land, that wouldn't count towards, that doesn't get counted towards the final number. So that all those wetlands have been excluded in the calculations.
Okay. And do those 3 parcels add up to the 50 acres?
So these 4 parcels actually add up to significantly more than 50 acres. Now it's probably pretty small, but I just the board members have this printed out, but this is the summary table from the compliance model, and let's see if I can get this highlighted. All four together equal 118 acres, which is way more than the 50 that we're required to have. So it would probably make sense to trim it down a bit, but wanted to give this board as well as the Board of Selectmen some options in trying to figure out a location that might work.
So all four of them have to be combined to get the 118 acres.
Right.
Right.
And then we gotta start slicing and dicing and to get down to the 50.
Right. I will note I guess for an example, the Canal Street, Howe Street area, Howe Ave, that in itself is 51 acres. So you could just theoretically move forward with that sub area and call that the district. Or you could take half of that and, half of
What about do you know what the other
1.6.
three are in size, by any chance?
Yep. The River Street, West Street sub-area is 15 acres. The 146 area is 39 acres. And Bremenville is 12.4. And I guess,
Through the chair?
Yes, Rennie?
I like the 146 deal. That's 39 acres. It's open right now. I don't believe there's anything there.
there's probably like 6 or 8 parcels in that.
It's on a major highway
It is, yeah.
for congestion. You shove this stuff downtown, it's, I don't think it's the right place to put it. But that highway part is good. I don't know it's undeveloped.
Yeah, there are some smaller buildings, but largely undeveloped, yeah.
Right. And that's 39 acres. So where can we pick up another 11 acres? If we were to do this?
I would note that,
River Street.
yeah, I mean, Cordis Mills in itself is probably 8 or 10 acres. I don't have that number in front of me, but
That would surely cut down on congestion, for sure.
What'd you say West Main Street was, 9?
the whole Bremenville area, I think, was 12.
12.4. 12.4.
Yeah, 12.4.
So if you wanted to, you could do the highway in the Bremenville.
But the highway doesn't really make sense, does it?
Why
Or
not?
How are they gonna get to the bus? They're gonna walk
What
down
bus?
146?
What bus?
The bus that comes through town every day.
The WRTA?
Yeah, that one.
They want to go to Worcester Center?
Yeah,
Is that the
so
one?
they can catch the train?
Or the WRTA have to make another stop?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's on 146. They go to the mall.
And maybe while you guys are kind of mulling that, I can just briefly go over some upcoming dates. The town has a deadline of February 13th, which is in 3 days, to submit an action plan. The Board of Selectmen will be reviewing that at their meeting tomorrow, and they will be the ones to review and give the approval for the town to submit that. The deadline for getting warrant articles on the annual town meeting, which is on May 6th, is March 7th. So we are kind of in a tighter timeline here in terms of getting an article onto the town meeting warrant. And then obviously the deadline for MBTA communities is July 16th, or 14th. So without scheduling an additional town meeting, if this were to get done at the annual town meeting, a vote to submit a zoning amendment article would have to be done by March 7th.
I don't endorse any of it. It went before the town. townspeople said no. We gonna listen to the townspeople, or are we just gonna be throwing it there, throwing it there, throwing it there, till we get the right answer?
You know, Shrewsbury, they voted for it, right?
And then they voted, and then they
They
went to,
voted it out,
and they voted,
and now it's back in.
not to my knowledge.
Well, I can add a little context there. Shrewsbury has, Shrewsbury's town meeting did approve an MBTA communities district. They have a representative town meeting, so it's a little different than Millbury's, which is an open town meeting. And then afterwards, they held a referendum to overturn the zoning change. That referendum was, I think, only last week, and it did not pass, so their MBTA communities zoning district is in place. So their referendum to overturn it was not successful.
Okay.
We got a hand?
Oh, there's all kinds of
I guess we
hands.
do.
Yeah, put up a
Okay.
little more.
Well, who do we have for the first hand up there?
Brian.
Three
Huh?
in a
Brian.
row.
Ryan?
Steve had his hand up for me if he wants to go first.
Thanks, Brian. So you know my position on this. I don't think we should be entertaining this again. The feedback that I'm going to give on this, which I can't find on the website either, so maybe Connor can share that location, rather than just the board seeing this, or the Board of Selectmen seeing this, the citizens should see it. The area on Canal Street and Howe Ave will likely trigger a lawsuit, because you cannot use an area that you previously used. It has to be significantly different, and I don't think that meets that definition. You're using the same area, so that's a risk to the town. Everybody's worried about the state suing us, but residents could do the same to the town. I also think this plan does not entertain areas that a former member of this board talked about at the town meeting. And if I can share my screen for a minute, I will show you 3 other areas that the board should probably consider. May I share my screen, Rich?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hold on 1 second.
Franny, I know Franny's looking for a different area anyway, so let's take a look.
I don't support this at all, but, to give you something to look at. All right, let's see. So the first one is just over 50 acres, and that is an area, I think it's Silver something Drive. It's where the bus company is.
Fox.
Yep.
Silver Fox, is that what it is?
Yep.
And it encompasses some houses, so that's 50 acres there. Across the street, on Riverland Street as well, that's just over 50 acres. That abuts conservation land. There is sewer that goes approximately to the transfer station, so that would be accessible. It's very close to the Grafton line, where people would have to go to the North Grafton train station, which, if this is intended to use the MBTA, that's probably the closest area. And then the other area is what I would consider probably a better area, which is in the very northeast corner of Millbury, which the top triangle is accessible through Worcester and Grafton. And then the other areas just get it down so that you can touch Grafton Worcester Road, which is a little over that. The other thing I'll point out is if you look at the railroad tracks up in that area, there's a little triangle, and then below it, there is another lot. Those are both null parcels, which we have them all over town, which means the town doesn't know who owns them, and nobody is being taxed for them. So I think one of the exercises should be, where are the null parcels in Millbury, and why don't we use those so that we can actually get some taxes back for that land? I know below the area that's in blue, There's an area that's owned by the Commonwealth of Mass that's landlocked in Millbury. I don't know if the access is through Grafton, but I think we ought to look at some areas where we don't know who owns the property, and we can get some tax revenue. There are other areas in Millbury that we can consider. I'm not advocating for any of these, but it's something that one of the previous board members had raised at the town meeting. So I was asked to look at a few areas and give some feedback on numbers. So that's where this originated from. I don't think we should move forward with the MBTA at all because we don't know what the regulations are going to be. They were all thrown out. There's 2 lawsuits that I'm intimately aware of. One is throwing the whole thing out. 2 is suing the state for the emergency regulations when there is absolutely no emergency. And I've presented that information to each of you. You received an email today. Whether you read it or not, I don't know. The Board of Selectmen has also received the exact same information. So I'm hoping that we seem to be rushing to a deadline, being pushed into a deadline. And I don't think the best way to plan is to rush. We can certainly schedule, if this is something that town officials want to push forward, we can certainly schedule a special town meeting in July or close to July, which gives us more time to think this through if there is a will to ignore the people who said no and push it forward anyways. The job of you guys and for the Board of Selectmen is to represent the people who elected you. And I think the state is dictating to us what we will do, and that's being lost in the conversation. So, does anybody want me to keep this up? Do you want me to stop sharing?
That map, is there any chance you could send a copy of that to the town planner so he could send it to us?
I can definitely do that.
Okay. Interesting, that's all. All right.
Well, that one parcel that's just before the Mass Pike Bridge, got all them condos up in there. Isn't there a bus thing right there at the end of that?
No, there isn't.
I don't think so.
There's only a few bus stops in Grafton, and actually the diagram that I'll send, the blue dots or they may be stop sign looking things are the bus stops. So the other thing I'll point out is on this map is the sort of maroon colored things are actual physical addresses of buildings from the state's 911 system. So those are all, you can see the parcels, you can see where there are buildings in Millbury, every single address. But there are no bus stops near there. But the point being made is bus stops can be rerouted. So if we were to put something over there, we could certainly request from the WRTA to send a bus out there. You know, their bus also goes down 146 to Sutton, through Sutton to the Walmart, but doesn't actually stop in Sutton. So this plots out a lot of information, and I'm happy to send it to Connor after the meeting with the numbers of acres and parcels that are broken down that you can look at. Another area we could look at. Part of the issue that I have with the Howe Ave and Canal Street one is that's called paper compliance, and other communities have tried that, which is going to backfire on them very badly. So I wouldn't recommend zoning on top of existing apartment complexes that don't necessarily meet the zoning requirements. Now, are they going to tear down the apartments? Probably not, but the state's probably going to view that as paper compliance and reject it. Thank you.
Okay. We had 3 hands up. Who's the second?
Brian.
Brian? Okay.
Hey guys, Brian Sawyer, Jackie Drive. Taking a look at the map that you had given the board and you had sent over to us for tomorrow as well, Connor. I would tend to agree with Fran in that what's jumping out at me is the 146 spot in particular. And just kind of my quick hits on it as to why I like it out of the options that are there is, well, actually, I guess this all comes with the caveat, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but as it relates to like the actual infrastructure over there, namely utilities, I know we were splitting the cost of a feasibility study with Sutton. In theory, if say, you know, this thing were to get approved and we put that down there, we have no like obligation to run utilities on that, or would we?
Correct. There's no obligation in the town to provide utilities to any MBTA district.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, and that's kind of what I like about it too. If, again, I think I think we're all kind of on the same page on this, that nobody's really loving this thing. I mean, I was pretty vocal in my opposition to the one that we had in May. In theory, if say we do have to go the lesser of all evils, what I like about this 146 spot is it's saying, hey, here's a plot of land we're okay with that. If you're willing to run the utilities here and can make use of it, it's somewhere where we've been hoping would get developed for some time, or we at least as a town explored feasibility for it, then be our guest. I like that it kind of takes a good amount of this away from the downtown, or namely the neighborhood area, relative to Rice Pond Village, as well as the energy storage system that's been going on in this neighborhood. That neighborhood's been battered enough, in my opinion, with things that they don't want. So I kind of like seeing this get pushed out a little ways. And what I just kind of like about it is it's gobbling up like 39 acres out of the 50, to where like we can maybe go with one of these other slivers downtown. So if I were to have to choose between something and this, and I think this was going to be something I was going to discuss with my board tomorrow, I do kind of like the 146 one out of them all. But having said that, if the board say were to want to use this and say they wanted to get this on as a ward on your end, I get it too. But that's kind of that's what jumped out at me, is if there was no requirement to have to do the utilities for them, that would be a cost that they would need to burden themselves with in order to develop. Then I think that stands to benefit us as well on that.
Through the chair?
Yep, Brian.
To that, Brian, I don't know, what will the state say if we do if we do that 146 thing, Connor? You can only get access southbound. You know what I mean? You can't come out of there and take a left and go northbound on 146. You can only go southbound. Is that going to be a problem for the state?
So through the chair, I mean, I can't speak for the state who will have to review this and approve this. I did send this conceptually to them and had a discussion about the areas that we were looking at. They did not flag the 146 area as being an issue, but again, I can't say for certain
I know.
that they're gonna.
Fred, I don't think it would be. They would just force an exit and entrance lane.
Oh, to cross 146?
No. To come off the highway, they would force an exit lane and force the entrance lane.
And then Bangor U at Boston Road?
Yeah.
Because
For
that used to
safety
be
purposes.
open in there, right near Tractor Supply years ago.
Yeah, I
if
remember
recall
that.
correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took your life in your hand doing it, but
Yeah.
it used to be open. Well, that, and they can also come through town too, because there's back roads that come out of there.
You still got another hand up.
Okay, oh yeah, sorry. Denise?
Hi, Denise Slowoski, Sullivan Place in Millbury. I have a quick question. Can everybody hear me first off?
Fine.
Yes.
Okay. My question is, are there any bylaws or regulations that may specify rules in regard to re-voting on a previous rejected proposal on this? And this is including timeframes between votes or required changes to the proposal.
So through the chair, I think I can maybe answer that. I think we discussed this a little bit at our last meeting, but normally if a zoning amendment is shot down at town meeting, there's a 2-year waiting period, cooling off period before it can be brought back again. However, that does not apply when the planning board, in their required public hearing, gives a positive recommendation on the zoning. So for the meeting that happened in November, this past November, this board did give a positive recommendation, so we are able to bring back the zoning amendment to the annual town meeting.
You can't bring back the same amendment.
My understanding is that you can, but
I don't
That's
believe
not
you
true.
can. You cannot bring back the same amendment.
So I spoke to a lawyer about this in detail, who is very engaged in this. So the only way it could move forward is if, not the previous, but if the board were to make a positive recommendation on a new proposal, and it is significantly different, which is defined in law and case law, then you could. But if it's not significantly different, and the board does not make a positive recommendation going forward, you cannot. There is a 2-year period to wait for, and there is plenty of case law that would support that. So doing so would risk personal liability to board members of the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, and town employees. So I would caution you on that. That's why I'm warning you about the Canal Street and Howe Ave, because I wouldn't want to see any of you put in that position, nor the town put in that position. So
through the chair,
this thing is very loaded.
yeah, I guess through the chair, we did check with town council on this, and they did confirm that their opinion is that we can bring the zoning amendment back from the fall because of the positive planning board recommendation. So I guess from staff perspective, we did run this by town council.
From the past positive recommendation, you're telling me? From the
Can I-
recommendation that was done in the fall?
Can I interrupt, please? A point of order. Steve, number one, please go through the chair when you comment. Don't just speak in,
Thanks,
please.
Bruce. Thanks for the reminder. I needed that.
Yeah, I know.
You
We
have
don't
a
even
habit
know
of
if Denise was done. Her hand is still up.
I'm done. Just one last question. Whereabouts on 146 is that parcel of land? Can you just kind of give me a visual?
Yeah, I think is my screen still up?
It's still up. I'm just wondering where exactly that is. Is it down by Tractor Supply or?
So this would even be farther, through the chair, this would be
Across
even
from like
farther.
Lorenzo's. and-
Yeah. This would be like if you're going south towards Sutton, the parcels on your right, kind of as you're approaching the liquor store and like Brookstone Kitchen. So it's
Oh.
those parcels as you kind of go up the hill.
You know where the industrial park is up there?
Yes, I do.
It's just before that. That's where it starts, and it goes down the hill.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I don't see there's any reason to present the same amendment that we had last fall. So I would think that one should be taken right off the table, because town voted it down. There's no reason to give them the same thing to vote on again. So,
Is it written the same?
Yeah, through the chair, the text of the proposed district is the same as it was in the fall. Again, as I said earlier, I didn't hear most of the concern I heard about the district was the location of it and not the
Right.
regulations of it. So that hasn't changed, but it's kind of why we had focused on looking at different locations for it.
so through the chair, so the text can stay the same, we just would change the locations.
Yeah, I think that's kind of generally what we're looking at, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hate to make it look like, we and the board are trying to jam this down the people's throat if they voted one way, and And then we say, well, that didn't work, let's try this, and that didn't work, then we'll try option B, C, D, E, and, until finally you do what you're supposed to, and, I don't know.
So what we're doing here is we're trying to take advantage of Fran's favorite thing, the state screw up, and we still don't know what they want to do in reality, but we're trying to take advantage of something that they've given all communities an opportunity to take advantage of. Is that what we're doing here?
Well, through the town of Milton case, the court ruled that the state didn't issue the rules for this correctly. They issued guidance, not regulation. It's a bit of a technicality, but regulations are follow a certain procedure where there's a public hearing process, which is happening right now for the ones that we have currently. So because of that, they pushed out the deadline for compliance basically 6 months for all the towns that were going to be, whose deadline was January 1st. So that's kind of where we are right now, is looking at, this deadline has been extended for the town. We do know that the court has validated that this law is valid and that the Attorney General can enforce it. So I think that's, in terms of, whether this is, bring this back to the town again in the spring, I think those are probably the big points that have changed. The regulations themselves the requirements haven't changed, but I think we know now that the law has been upheld by the courts and that the Attorney General has the ability to enforce it, and by everything we've seen, intends to enforce it if we were to not comply.
Okay, it was upheld by what court?
The state Supreme Court.
Thank you. That's my concern. I don't think people are going to stop there. I think they're going to push it right through the state into the federal.
Oh, there's many lawsuits still pending. This thing is nowhere near done. Nowhere near done.
I don't know. I think it's kind of stupid to rush into this until we can find out.
Well, my feelings to the chair. I'm done.
We don't.
The biggest problem we all
That
have,
was the problem we had when we went the first time. We didn't have everything.
it's lack of education, and nobody knows. And nobody can answer any questions, so
Well, the state can't answer them.
that's what I'm saying. We don't have the answers we
Yeah,
need.
it's just like recycle the mattresses, but we don't know how.
So
Remember that one?
what we're doing right now, what we're discussing right now is an action plan, which means really nothing?
Well, through the chair, the action plan is kind of a separate issue or item. The action plan is a interim compliance step that is due on the 13th, which is Thursday?
Couple days, yeah.
Couple days. That is something, it's basically an acknowledgement by the town that we understand the deadlines, that the new deadlines that we have, and that we have a general outline of how we're going to comply by that time.
That's an admission of guilt. That's what
And
that is.
That last statement you added on to I didn't have any problem with the beginning of what you said until we figured out how to get in line and stay in line like the state wanted us to do, and hell, that's not what the people wanted us to do, and
Nope. And I will not endorse anything.
I just don't, whatever.
Okay, well.
I wish they'd get their act together.
Yeah, right.
Gonna happen.
Rich?
You gotta say who you are, Steve, this time,
Steve Stearns.
Thank you.
This is already in federal court.
Oh,
The
it is in
MBTA
federal
is
court
in
already?
federal court. Yep,
Yeah, okay, I kind of figured that would be the case, but
it is, so.
All right, so. Are we
So
expecting?
Connor, what do we need to do tonight? Anything?
So, through the chair, I think the board's options are whether or not to put forward a zoning amendment. The deadline to do that is March 7th, so for scheduled meetings, you have tonight and the
we can bring it up the
February
next
24th
meeting. I don't
meeting.
know whether it's going to change much, though, to be honest with you.
Don't we still have to have a public hearing on this?
Correct. You would still have a public hearing, but
So
the vote would be to submit a zoning amendment for consideration at the town meeting.
how and why should we have a positive or negative vote to the Board of Selectmen on this issue when we haven't even had a public hearing yet?
Well, in order to have a public hearing, someone has to put forth the amendment. So that's what you guys would be doing right now. So you would come up with what amendment you want to see go to town meeting, and then you would have a public hearing where the public would have the ability to weigh in on it.
Okay.
I don't know, it seems backwards to me.
Through the chair.
Yep.
Connor, do you have time to look at those other 3 parcels that Steve brought up? To see if they would work, so we'd have a couple more options to look at?
I can, yes, I should be able to. I'd have to work with Barrett Planning to run the compliance model and the GIS on it, but
Yeah.
I can try to take a look at those.
Does next 2 weeks give you enough time to do that?
Hopefully, yes.
Because we know you don't have anything else to do, so.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, he
we'll
does.
figure
He
it
got
out.
my book he printed out for me.
You're not gonna give it up, okay?
Never give it up.
I know.
So what do we want to do, continue this till?
Yeah,
What do we
don't want us to
continue?
vote on this tonight, you know
We don't
where
have
this is
to.
gonna go.
We don't have to continue anything, do we?
No, this is just a discussion. We don't have to.
Yeah, through the chair, I mean, I think you could vote to continue the discussion until the February 24th meeting.
See that?
Then it can go on the
I'll
agenda.
make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, read the motion, seconded, further discussion?
I,
Hearing none. Wow, hearing none.
Aye.
All in favor?
motion to close.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 27th, 2025.
Second?
We got a motion and seconded. Any changes or anything there, gentlemen? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't think I should have voted on that one.
Motion to adjourn?
Sorry,
Second.
You have things not discussed.
Things not discussed, okay.
No, we don't.
No, it's on a,
through the chair, while I think Ms. Dotson's getting up, I just wanted to give the board an update. There is a public hearing scheduled for the February 24th meeting for a wireless communication facility special permit, basically a cell tower. Part of the town's zoning requirements for that is to have a balloon test, basically to,
yeah,
they
okay.
have to raise a balloon to see,
Right.
so residents can see what it looks like. That is scheduled to happen on February 18th, which is a Tuesday, between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., so for 3 hours. It's weather dependent, but right now that is when the balloon test will be, so I just wanted to give the board and anyone online that heads up.
Is there
Where
is
is
there a
it?
rain date for that in case?
The rain date would be the next day, and it would, if the weather is bad, it would be the next day, and then same thing again. So it would go from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, same time, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Where is said tower?
It is on,
That was good.
it is at 269 West Main Street.
I believe that's the Agway,
It's the
the old Agway,
Rogers Farm Supply,
just farm supply, yeah.
Okay.
well, but like way in back, that's a big parcel.
Way in the back.
Yeah. So if you want
What
to
street
take a
is
look at the balloon, it would be
You know what
visible
Rogers
during
Farms
that
stand
date and
Oh,
time.
wait a minute, okay, wait, okay, yeah, I
Way up
remember that
there,
now,
way
yeah, okay.
I don't know how to make this thing work.
What are you trying to do?
What is this?
You did it.
I did it? Okay.
You did it.
Terry Burke, Dotson, 20 Salo Terrace. I was stopped and I was out shopping, and I was surrounded by a group of people who brought to my attention that we have a new building going up. Did you people approve this building lot on Lakeview?
Oh, that was approved by the state. That's
I'm sorry,
isn't
who
that the,
approved, did you approve that? Because I remember it came up before the board before, and then it was withdrawn.
No, we did not.
I did not
Did
approve
not
it.
approve this?
We continued it, and the state came up with the 900 square foot ADU. We continued it because it was over our bylaw of 800 square feet. We continued it.
He withdrew.
He
the
waited,
plan.
he withdrew it, he pulled a building permit for a garage, and then last week, he added the ADU to the top of it, as a
Who
second
approved
story.
that?
The building department,
inspector.
building inspector. All you need is a building permit.
Do you see what he built?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. It was approved by the state.
built what
but
he
it's,
said he
Now,
was
wait a minute. If these people, now, the people, and the problem with this is that it violates their privacy. You
Talk
know,
to the
and
building
any
inspector.
kind-
He issued the permit. It has
Excuse
nothing to do
me,
with us.
any kind of an accessory dwelling it cannot be given unless, if it substantially derogates from the public good. This is your own law. This is your own law.
I spoke
the other
with the
thing-
building
The
inspector
other
this
thing is
morning.
that this is not going to help. This is not going to help.
We
You've
got
seen
the
it.
idea,
know where
Terry,
it
anyway,
is.
thank you.
Sorry.
Rich, we got a point of
This
order here.
building-
This, we're not involved with this.
I know, I get that.
Who then do the people in this neighborhood, because don't forget, this neighborhood,
Yeah, Terry, you can't keep bringing it up to us. There's not a damn thing we can do.
I'm asking a
If you got a
question.
if you got a building permit to put that up,
who do the people in that neighborhood go to
the building
to oppose
inspector.
it?
Building inspector or the state, because the state's the one that approved these ADUs.
So who do the people in that area go to? Where do they file an appeal?
Really?
How is an appeal filed? I'm asking questions here.
There is no appeal.
Nothing to do with us.
You can't appeal it.
Nothing
It
through
fits
us.
within the state law of 900 square feet ADU. What the garage he got, he pulled a building permit for the garage. After the state law went into effect on February 2nd, I believe it was, he pulled he modified his application to add the ADU on top of the garage. I spoke with the building inspector this morning, very nice gentleman. He's on top of it, he's inspecting it, he's watching it, he questioned the height on it, that was rectified. So he's on top of it, he knows what's going on over there. There's nothing to do with the planning board, Terry.
So what you're telling me to tell these people is that they have to
Deal with it.
address, give me exactly what to tell these people to do in order to
can't
get
do
this
that.
thing
Can't
taken
do that.
down.
We don't know what to tell them.
Nobody has any answers?
Building
There's nothing to
inspector,
do with us.
building,
The building inspector
town manager.
and the town manager?
The state.
Nothing to do with the planning department.
Go to
Has
the
nothing
State
to
House.
do
Go
with
to the
Connor.
State House, that's right.
Has nothing to do with us.
It's the State House is the one that kicked off all these
They're good at that.
new ways at
Yeah.
creating units and all this stuff that we create anyway. We work with people and create them anyway. They had to come in and monkey up the waters, like they're very good at doing. And now you're asking us questions that I don't even know how we can answer them.
There's nothing that the planning board can do to help these people.
Absolutely not.
Nothing.
No, it's,
It's a shame.
It's state law.
Who, did we accept the state law? I mean, do we have to put that before the,
No.
how?
No.
No?
No.
There's nothing that if the state says something, we have to jump, right?
Well, not on everything.
Oh, not on everything?
But this is a regular
Stop this,
building
please.
permit.
This is a regular building permit,
That's all it is.
oh,
and it violates everything in our bylaws.
we got water.
It violates a lot of our bylaws.
All right.
We're not
We
doing this,
can't, we
Terry.
can't do that, Terry. We can't talk about it anymore, all right? No more.
Okay, well,
There's nothing we can do. I'd like to do something to help them out, but I can't.
do you see how high that building is? And that overlooks the whole neighborhood,
Yeah.
The
I
whole
think it's
neighborhood.
How high it
disgusting.
is.
That was
That's
the problem to
plan he
begin with.
submitted.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, I was
Disgusting.
hoping that you could help these people.
The zoning over there is for that height. That height is allowable in the zoning over there. I think it's R2.
Doesn't match the
I
rest
think
of
it's
the neighborhood.
35, most everything in town's 35 feet,
40
isn't it?
feet, I think.
30
over
feet.
there.
Yeah, but it says, it says the principal dwelling or accessory structure shall, to be altered or constructed, shall maintain the appearance of a single-family structure or accessory structure, and to protect the stability, property values, and to ensure the appearance of single-family residential neighborhoods
Right, so
is
I would
not
take, I would say to
negatively
tell the
impacted.
people of band together, get a lawyer and sue the guy. Because what you just said, it doesn't follow.
It doesn't follow.
So I don't know what else to tell you. We can't help you.
Well, he's making friends over there, isn't he?
And as I understand, he's running an illegal business out of that property also.
Well, whatever.
And that's,
Nothing to do with
that,
I don't
you
wanna-
can't help him
we
with
gotta
that.
stop this discussion.
We'll
I
get in
know.
trouble.
He's not running anything out of there right now because it's not finished.
Thank you,
They're
Franny, for
working-
your...
They're working like beavers over there, let me tell you.
I know what they're doing.
That's good.
You know,
It's sad.
I mean, but
It's sad. I
Okay.
feel sorry.
Anything else?
No, but thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Terry.
I
Yeah,
already,
it's a shame.
Say it again.
I already made it.
I hear it.
Rich?
Oh,
Steve Stearns.
Okay, yeah.
I've got a housekeeping item for you guys, and if I can share my screen while I speak, I think it will make sense.
House-
May I?
I already
Yeah,
cleaned my
go ahead.
house.
Yep. You were out of water.
Yeah.
All right, so with the ADU, not what Terry was talking about, with the new Affordable Homes Act,
Yeah.
that made ADUs by right. And our bylaws have a whole section 46.2 on accessory dwelling units. And in reviewing that against the law, we just need to delete that section out of the bylaws. So I'm asking you to consider the amendment on your screen for the board to submit that for town meeting. So essentially, it's asking you to delete that section and all references throughout the entire zoning bylaw, because nothing in this section is applicable anymore because of the new state law. So it's a housekeeping item.
Okay. We'll think about that one, Steve. Thank you.
All right?
All right. We got a motion. I think it's...
Motion to adjourn, oh, I already said it?
said it,
I'm
I
pretty sure
seconded it.
somebody, I thought somebody seconded that. And Franny was trying to go, and it didn't.
Well, he wouldn't let me do it.
Okay.
He's greedy like that.
Okay, Franny. We got a motion that's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy
Opposed?
Valentine's Day.
Happy
Yes.
Valentine's.
Valentine's Day.